Welcome welcome everybody back to the 6 Yard Box podcast, the official podcast of the Juventus Fan Club Toronto. This is episode 13 of our podcast. My name is Joe Chiraco. I am joined with my co-hosts, John Groh, president of JOFC Toronto, James Martino, director of the board of JOFC Toronto, and we have two special guests today, returning actually from one of our earlier episodes, Adam and Marco Principe of Stereo Serie A, and two of our members as well. I wanted to thank you guys for coming on. Thanks so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you for having us, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Always love coming on and chatting Juve.
So we're going to be chatting, like you said, Marco, Juve, big win against Parma today. I think there's something else happened this week. I'm not sure. I might have heard some rumblings somewhere, maybe on the internet. Something may have happened. I don't know. Can you guys refresh my memory? Did anything else happen this week that is of interest?
Anything super duper?
Anything?
Anything at all? We're going to get into that in just a second. It's a really hotly debated topic, but I want to hand it over, our listeners over to our president, John Groh, who has a very special announcement on behalf of our Juventus official fan club, Toronto. Take it away, John.
Thanks, Joe. Obviously, you guys know I'm not much for words. Yeah, right. We've, COVID has been tough for all of us. Last March has turned our lives upside down. And, one of the few things that have kept us together is sport. And this beautiful game of football, European football, soccer, whichever way you want to call it, has kept us together and has allowed us to grow in friendship. It has allowed us to grow also as a community and as a football fan club here in Toronto. I am happy to announce, with the hard work of the Juventus official fan club of Toronto board and its members and its dedication to our colors, our team, our faith, our love for the Bianconeri, this year, the Juventus official fan club Toronto has been acknowledged as a top foreign club for membership outside of Italy, and secondary, and just as impactful, and obviously got me a little emotional when I was told this, for the first time ever in the history of the JOFC and its brand, a non-Italian team cracks the top 5 rankings in all of the world for the fan club. So a big clap to the entire board.
Massive.
To the entire board, to our members. Cliche, we have nothing without you, but it's so true. And the love is only going to grow. And, one thing that myself and Joe have coined over the last few months is one club, one family. And we are a family, and we're going to push that to no end. This is not just a club where, typically guys show up, whatever. No, we want your kids. We want the wives. We want the family approach. We want everybody to feel comfortable knowing that this is a place where you can come, cheer, make friends, become acquainted with the Juventinità that we all care and love for, and to breed the next fan, the next cheerleader for our Bianconeri. So to everyone in the JFC Toronto universe, thank you. Mille grazie, as they say in Italian. And next year, bigger and better, and with the love of Torino. So for those who don't know, who didn't see my clip, Juventus official fan club head office sent us this beautiful jersey signed by the entire squad. And they actually saw the video we created prior to their game and signed this jersey, and it was really neat. Actually, Mehdi Demiral wrote top at the bottom of his name, meaning for top class. So thank you to Mehdi for that. And, from Pirlo to Chiesa, Bernardeschi, Ronaldo, the team, everyone, Captain Chiellini and Bonucci, Gigi, they're all here. Quadrado with a smile. It's fantastic that they acknowledge us and our love and commitment to this team. And without further ado, we can go ahead and start talking about what came after Sunday lunch.
That's a great segue. Thank you, John, and thank you to our members. That obviously everything that we do is for our members. Everything that we've tried to do during COVID And we could dedicate a whole podcast to what we've accomplished and what we've done. But 450 members, tops, on top of the international clubs, never been done before. And we smashed our old record for our club, which was 289, set back in, I think, 2006, 2007. So, and it's only going to get bigger from here. And we're excited to bring you more things coming down the line, COVID or not. We're always going to be here. We haven't gone anywhere. Neither has our team. And again, it's all about Juventus, fino alla fine, and the brand. And it's a perfect segue into the topic that, we've had the spectacular rise and fall, it seems, over the last 48 to 72 hours of what I'm sure many of you have already heard, as it made international headlines in the mainstream media too, of the proposed European Super League that we've been hearing so much about. So just as a little context for those who haven't, who are maybe not aware of all the details, 12 of the biggest clubs in Europe, 3 from Italy, including Juventus. Full transparency, our president, Andrea Agnelli, was the vice chair of this new organization, headed by also the Glazer family of Man United and Florentino Perez of Real Madrid. The big 6 in England and the top 3 in Spain, with some invites to other teams, was supposed to be a new tournament to break off from UEFA and start their own kind of competition that was supposed to get started later this year for 21-22 season. As of time of recording, those plans have quashed after a lot of backlash from fans and even government officials all across the world against this proposal. So as of right now, there is going to be no, it's off for now. And I say for now because we'll get into why it may or may not happen again, and why this is probably, you can bet your bottom dollar that this is not the last we're going to hear of this. But I'm going to start off with our guests, actually, Marco and Adam. Just your thoughts on this. I mean, it's been a whirlwind over the last 72 hours, but as members and, non-board affiliated, and for full transparency, of course, myself, James, and John on the board of directors, we represent Juventus as a brand here in Canada, in Toronto. So, we have our opinions, and we're going to share them fully transparently. We're not the types of people that censor anybody. We believe in free speech, and we believe in freedom of opinion. And we'll definitely make sure to get our opinion out there. But let's start off with our members and our guests, Adam and Marco. Thanks, both of you. One of you guys can start, whomever wants to get started on your thoughts here on this whirlwind that we've had this week.
So I know before we started recording, Joe, when we started recording the podcast, we were just having a little bit of chatter before, and you had stated, your position, you're not, fully sure as to, what your thoughts are, and I know you're most likely going to get into that, but I kind of share the same sentiment. I'm not exactly too sure how I feel about this whole Super League and how it's going to look and how it's going to work and all that. I believe just reading a lot of information on Twitter and on the internet and stuff, obviously you have to take everything with a grain of salt, but it's obvious that UEFA, their way of revenue sharing, let's say, is not the fairest that it should be. And when you look at Premier League clubs and the money that they make from television deals, from budgets and stuff that a 19th or 20 place team has, and you compare that to the winner of La Liga, the winner of Serie A, there's a massive discrepancy there. And these are the biggest clubs in the world: Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, our rivals Inter and Milan. These clubs have much bigger brands than, no offense, these smaller teams in the Premier League. Yet when it comes to how much money we get from UEFA, from our respective leagues, it's nowhere close to the Premier League. So when I saw the Premier League teams back out, I says, yeah, and of course they're going to back out. I says, they're getting enough money from their respective leagues, no problem. They don't need the extra money in their pocket. But I do think eventually the Super League will happen, and I'd be curious to see how it works. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. You look at the NBA, for example. You look at how we do things here in North America. It's best on best. It's, in the NBA, it's the best players who play basketball. In the NHL, it's the best players who play hockey. We don't really have something like that for soccer. I guess you could call it the Champions League, but it's not constant week in, week out, the best teams, the best brands. And I think essentially that's what they want with this Super League. And I was curious to hear more information about it. And, I'm excited to see what next steps are, even though we might not get anything this year, but I think there'll be some more talk of it, within the next 2-3 years.
Great point. Adam, what are your thoughts?
I think they're not the only, but I think a couple mistakes that they made here was calling it the Super League, because I think it put a lot of, I don't know I'm trying to find the word for it, but I guess some people have a negative connotation for the word super. It's like, how are you going to separate us? Like, the UEFA calls it the Champions League because it's the teams who are able to actually win their league or finish top 4. Yeah, okay, that's a good name, the Champions League. The Super League makes it sound like we're better than you. We've been better for a while. We're always going to be better. And also the timing. I think if they definitely rolled this out during the off season, more in the summer here, I think they probably would have been able to make more headway. But letting this thing breathe within, towards the end of the season, you have regular football programs that are going on. So you have all the pundits that are all riled up and they know people are watching. It's not the off season. You're not thinking about football. I know some people can turn it off, but even for the general viewer, you're still tuning in to watch your regular Sky, BT Sports, BN, and all the pundits on those networks are starting to talk about how bad the Super League is. If they had done this in the off season, I think they definitely would have been able to deal with less criticism, with less people calling for organization to say, we don't want this. And I'll tell you right now, I was pro Super League when I heard this, when they officially put the announcement out. I know that Agnelli has been talking about Super League, and there have been rumors about it for a while. I think the timing was off when they did it. And then obviously you saw a lot of pundits, not even on the TV side, but also on, I guess, the influencer side as well, on Twitter, talk about it. And I want to just jump to a tweet here. I'm not going to say who it's from, but it says, we are going to get a whole new level of self-righteous visceral from fans of clubs who aren't going along with the European Super League, aren't we? And I think that's a great, thing to say, because not that you're trying to poke the mob or anything, but yeah, you're going to get all these people coming out as self-righteous saying, why do they got to do this? This isn't the football we know and love. Well, I think it's time to grow up, because to me, football now seems not more like a business, but you got to treat it like a business. You got to protect your investment. You can't see, if you finish first in Serie A, top 4, even if you win the Scudetto, you still don't generate as much revenue as, say, like a mid-pack team in the Premier League. That's an issue. The way Juventus is, busting their butts for the past 10 years, building something organic, bringing Italy's coefficient up, and still not being compensated based on their achievement, I think most people would take an issue from that if you looked at it without removing yourself as a fan and just seeing it from a business. Because right now football is a business, and it has been for a while. If you want to go back to your one club mans, buy DVDs or VHS for the sake of the times, and rewatch those old seasons, because footy's a business now, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they're also trying to create a brand that Agnelli is saying, I'm going to make sure Juventus stays Juventus for the foreseeable future. I'm giving that back to the fans. Everyone going on about, it's not for the fan. No. He's for the fans. He's saying, I'm going to give you something from today, and for the next 100 years, Juventus is always going to be considered a top team, no matter what. So I mean, I don't get why a lot of people were against it. Maybe if you're a fan of the smaller club, I'm sorry for calling it a smaller club, but you are what you are. You know what I mean? And I just want to also call out Gary Neville. for his words on Sky Sports. And this one, I'll let you know who put the tweet out. It's a good friend of mine, Nima Tav, over in Sweden, and he covers Inter, and he's also got his own podcast. Shout out to him. But he says the irony and hypocrisy of at GNev2, Gary Neville, whining about greed on Sky Sports for the Premier League, whinging, who recently charged £15 for garbage pay-per-view games they previously made for free in the middle of a pandemic. So this argument about, oh, I can't believe that, they would come out with this league and try and take money away from other smaller teams in the middle of a pandemic. It's like, you work for a company that's doing the same thing, Neville. So, I mean, I think, don't, what's the saying? Don't cast stones in a glass house. So, I mean,
or don't call a kettle black when you're the kettle as well.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. I share the same sentiments. I thought that Gary Neville's comments were, honestly, you could have been captain of one of the most storied franchises. You look like an idiot on Sky. You want to prep your conversation or your statement. Don't come out looking like a hooligan. He looked like a hooligan. He sounded like a hooligan, and he sounded like an idiot moron. And Gary Neville, hopefully you'll watch this thing somewhere, somehow. You're a moron. And as a leader or considered leader of a team, what you should have been has been a little bit more generous to the thought, like, we don't know yet. We don't know what they're thinking. You're coming out for the fan. You came out and you called yourself out. I made a lot of money. I'm investing. Who are you investing with? UEFA? Because obviously there's two sides of the coin here, and we're only seeing one, because you have this powerhouse European organization working with FIFA, and you don't know. And from, like, I don't even know if this is true or not. And if you guys can lead on this. Look, I heard the 6 English backed out because they're getting UEFA backing for COVID debts. So, I mean, that's the word out there. And if that's the case, who's a bigger sellout? Is it Florentino Flores and Agnelli and whomever else is on board? What is the situation? Obviously, the system's broken. That's why these guys went out there and created. There are not just 1 or 2 guys. There were 12 founding partners. This is not, I don't want to hear the tweets and the moronic call-outs of Inter fans. Yeah, I'm going to call you guys out. You guys are idiots. And I don't care where it goes. You guys are morons. You're calling out our president. You're lucky because with Ronaldo getting the team we got, you were able to get a subpar forward like Lukaku and be still subpar to a 37-year-old at the age of 27. So you're garbage, and know that the fact that you still don't have your own stadium, you don't have your own brand, you honestly are what you are, Inter merda. I'm going to say this as a president, because at the end of the day, what I hate is people not sticking up for a president who brought us 9 championships. You haven't seen it anywhere else. Brought us the best player in the world. Brought us a brand in a terrible league. Subpar. We are playing subpar soccer, and if it wasn't for a tie and a loss in the last 3 weeks, we would be 6 points behind Inter right now after their last 2 ties, and we are not playing Juve-style soccer. So at the end of the day, this is a guy and an organization that is trying to build not its own brand, it's the Italian brand, and he's not getting any love whatsoever. The only guys that I see that are giving her, the only guy is Steven Zhang. Steven Zhang came into this league as an owner of Inter and understood the full capacity of Andrea Agnelli and what he was doing. I don't like the fact that we are painting one country, one club with a brush when there were another 11 teams that agreed to move forward and 3 waiting in the wings to join, and then another 5 to apply for the position. Everybody was on board. The only reason everyone tucked it in because UEFA went in and did exactly what UEFA does, is be this big-ass bully with all the money and all the pull in the world to come in, because they're tied to federations, they're tied to bigger money and bigger losses. And what happens? FIGC gets involved. You get the Spanish Federation, German Federation involved, and you get the English Federation. What is one man on one organization going to do? And you're right, it's a business. This is a business. I run my own business. I make business decisions. I took over this club with Joe and 11 other representatives. We were not bad. We were at 230 members. We brought up to 450 because we looked at it as a business. People have enjoyed our benefits of this club because we looked at it as a business. People have enjoyed 9 years of championships because he looked at it as a business. If you don't like it, put up your big girl pants, your big boy pants, and if you don't like it, Go watch the games you said. Go put on the cassette tape. Go watch the romantic soccer that was there, because now it's a business. If you don't like it, stop watching European football.
Well said. And I actually have some points to make there, but James, I want to get your thoughts in there because you haven't spoken yet. So the floor is yours, my friend.
I think when I look at things, I look at follow the money. And I think the clearest thing that I saw is the 12 biggest brands in world soccer basically said, why aren't we getting a bigger slice of the pie? And a team like Juve, who are forced to play on a league where they're in crumbling stadiums, which Agnelli was one of the first to build their own stadium, which is an advantage. Has a crumbling stadium, poor television. They didn't sign a TV contract properly. Even the visuals of a game, because they're these old ancient stadiums, they have the track built around, so it's not close to the field like how there is in England. So you have that. You also have, and this is another thought that I have as well, is Italian is not one of the biggest languages around the world. Yes, there's lots of Italian around the world, but spoken languages. What are the two largest spoken languages in the world? It's English and Spanish. They already have that advantage to have that natural commentary that is out there. So they get these TV deals that allow them to go more global than Serie A. So what did Agnelli do to fix that? He went out and got the biggest player in the world. So now Serie A's got a bigger deal. But still, the money is still not flowing as quickly as it needs to be. The fact that you had a large investment firm like JP Morgan ready to throw in that kind of cash means there's more money that UEFA was holding. And we're starting to hear cracks very quickly. I didn't think this was going to see the light of day. This was all a negotiation ploy. The fact that they said that they were going to do it this August was never going to happen. You can never implement something as big as this that quickly. So it was all a negotiation ploy to start, and it's exactly what happened. So UEFA magically has now found a bidder to help, a fund to help them boost up the revenues. Now they went and bribed the English teams. I don't know if it was UEFA themselves, the federation, or we did hear English MPs get involved. Their prime minister made comments on how it was going to affect them. So all this came in, but they needed a bad guy. And fortunately, Agnelli was painted as the bad guy because the UEFA president came out with that quote. In the long run, is this going to be better? Essentially, the same format is going to be there for what UEFA proposed. We're still going to have that group stage where it's more like a league versus groups. So that format's going to come. They were saying for 2024, but with this, it's kind of pushing it to get it. Hey, forget 2024. We're not going to survive till then. We need it faster. We need those revenues. We've had COVID environment. The other thing that these 12 brands have is they had full stadiums. This revenue with COVID, they're not getting that gate revenue. That gate revenue is not coming in. That T-shirt sale is not coming in. That impulse buy when you're in the stadium. And they need money. They need money because they're the only ones who are investing in their players. They're the ones going out and getting, I forget what they said when they were going to ban them from playing the World Cup. These teams have the best players in the world. Do you think you can have a watered down World Cup if they couldn't go? So there was a lot of talk, but at the end of the day, I think what is going to happen is Agnelli's going to be the bad guy, but he got what he wanted.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I'll speak on this. It's going to be a bit of a longer rant, not so much a rant, but just an explanation of what is going on from more of a macro level. And then I'll break down of why this really happened. So essentially, like this really has not so much to do with soccer as it does, excuse me, with the world that we live in right now. So everything in our world, whether you like it or not, has changed and is changing very, very rapidly. And And that's not just because of COVID. COVID just expedited several things. But if you look back to 40 years ago, when they first started to put sponsors on jerseys, this was in the mid 80s, I think, in Serie A and in England, when commercialization started to come in, you know, the world was changing and becoming more commercial. Multinationals coming in, you know, NAFTA here in North America, other big trade deals that trickle down to everything, not just sport, but also every other industry, every other business. So that's when things started to change into the way things are. When you look at the media, right? So we went from, you know, the early 90s, late 80s, we went from cable TV, which was a brand new state of the art. HBO changed the way we watch television. 10 years later, we had satellite dishes. You could watch Rai International like I did back in the late 90s, in 1999, watching Fox Sports World or Rai International to watch La Giostra dei Gol for the first time as a little kid. Then you've got Twitch, you've got TikTok, you've got streaming, which in 5 years is going to overtake our traditional TV medium with DAZN and Amazon Prime and all sorts of, and Netflix just taking over and getting into this world. So for those that are saying, oh, this is an attack on football, it's, you know, football is dead. Football died on April 18th, 2021. I'm sorry to say, like, I don't know if for those people, if they've been living under a rock or they just in denial, but football died a long time ago. It did not die on April 18th, 2021. It's been at least 35 to 40 years where the romanticism and the traditionalism of our sport is gone. And the beautiful thing about this sport and why it makes it the greatest there is, and that it transcends sport, is because soccer is a microcosm, a metaphor for humanity. When it changes, so does the world. When hooliganism got removed, it brought in a more just, well, supposedly more of a just society and more progressive change. It's no different here. When you look at businesses from this point of view, you look at JP Morgan and these other big hedge funds who are trying to get into the sport, trying to invest with Serie A as well. You know, why are they doing this? Because they're sitting on a pile of cash. Interest rates are at an all-time low, and it actually costs them more money to keep it in their own bank than it is for them to spend it. So that's why they're hopping on board with this. That's why they want to invest this money, because soccer is a recession-proof product. Okay, it transcends. There is no economic condition that would affect this sport, and that's why they want to get into this. It's purely financial. Now, you guys made reference to the brands, and that's what they are. They're not teams anymore. They're brands. They're large brands. They're multinational brands. They're not just Italian anymore. You know, they don't tweet. They don't post their Instagram captions in Italian anymore. It's all in English for that audience. So, you know, everything has changed, and it's never going to go back. You know, a couple of years ago, when I was in Italy, I had watched the Juventus Torino game in 2017, and it was a wonderful experience. And I went down to Calabria to visit my family. The next week, you know, I watched the game at the local bar, or was headed to the bar. I decided to go to the Tabacchino, which is our version of a convenience store, to go get the Toto Calcio Schedina, which is the pro line, the betting slip that, you know, in Toto Calcio, which was an Italian cultural phenomenon, not just a soccer phenomenon. And I was really upset to see that, you know, they didn't sell anymore at that location in my town, which they had done for many, many years before on all my other trips. And in fact, 2 years ago, they actually discontinued the thing altogether, and it was a big deal in Italy. You know, once in a while, I used to listen to, you know, Calcio Minuto per Minuto, the radio show where they would go from stadium to stadium on Rai. At one point in the 1980s, 30 million Italians used to listen to the radio. They used to listen to the games every week. 30 million. That's, at the time, that was more than half the population. Okay, that is the era of romanticism of the sport. But those days are long gone, and it took me a while to get over as a traditionalist and someone who's very passionate about this game. But those days are gone, and they're never coming back. And they haven't been there for many, many years. By the time I started watching the sport more closely as a kid in 1999, 2000, the Champions League had already ballooned from straight knockout, the best of the leagues, to already a group stage of like 24 teams. It had already surpassed that and this was 20 years ago. So the fact that I see this outrage from fans is ridiculous, quite honestly, because where have you been when the Premier League separated in 1992? That was a Super League. When the Champions League became the Champions League and not the European Cup, that is a Super League. This is just another iteration for the future of the sport. And the reason why they're doing it is not because they want to destroy the game, but because the world is changing. The way we consume entertainment, because soccer, just like every other sport, is entertainment, right? The way we consume entertainment through streaming, through mobile devices, that's changed the game. And it's not just soccer that has to adapt. It's every other sport. You look at baseball. Baseball is a dying sport. Why? Because nobody wants to watch 9 innings of guys just standing there and one thing happening in 4 hours. It just doesn't. The tastes of sports fans, of people, have changed, and you've got to give the people what they want. And what the people want is they want to see the 12 biggest teams, the 20 biggest brands in the world face each other. They want to see Real Madrid. They want to see Cristiano Ronaldo go to Old Trafford and then the next week return to the Bernabeu. They want to see that. I want to see that. It makes for must-see TV. It makes for must-see streaming at work, on my mobile, everywhere. It's just the way it's going to be. And the big teams, they realize that. They know that. And they know that this demographic of Generation Z, which is the next generation after us, Marco and Adam, that's the generation that they don't have the attention span to watch sports. More of those kids, they play video games. They don't even want to participate in sports anymore. They don't even want to play house league soccer. They don't want to play hockey anymore. They want to play video games. They just want to watch YouTube all day. So how are you going to get those fans? How are you going to get the next generation of fans? You've got to adapt your sport. You know, the Canadian Football League here in Canada, they were ridiculed for wanting to partner with the XFL, with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But they're not stupid. They know that TV ratings have plummeted over the last 10 years. They know that if they don't do something drastic, their league is going to fold and we won't have the CFL ever again. You know, I'm not saying that soccer is going to die, but it's not going to continue to be the biggest sport if drastic changes aren't going to be done. And whether that's a Super League or an expanded Champions League or anything else, I mean, something's got to be done. And then don't even get me started on the hypocrisy of UEFA and FIFA, the same FIFA that created a 24-team World Club Cup for more money, the same FIFA that they want to do a 48-team World Cup in 2026 because we want to, quote unquote, spread our sport across the world. Yeah, right. With all due respect, we can cut through the crap. It's all about the money. It's always been about the money, and it always will be about the money. Period. UEFA, same thing. 24-team Euros, 32-team, now 36-team Champions League. Nations League. Why do we need a Nations League? It's more money, more corporate sponsors. They are just as big a culprit as these 12 teams. They are the ones that created the Super League. They created the conditions for teams to want to break away and gain more. They created their own monster, and their worst nightmare came to fruition this past weekend, and they didn't know how to deal with it. And guess what? It's not over, because now they're just going to suspend their plans. And Liverpool's owner, who in a very American way went on TV and with his sad crocodile tears said, "I'm so sorry, Liverpool fans. It was a mistake. I'm really sorry from the bottom of my heart." In a classical American guilty victim mentality, virtue signaling snowflake manner, he went ahead and said it. I respect Andrea Agnelli for being a man of his convictions and saying, yeah, we needed that because it benefits my team and our fans. And it really does, because you've got the Premier League teams who are making 180 million pounds a year. The Serie A champion only gets 87 million a year. The Champions League winner gets only about 140 million a year, if they're lucky, depending on what country they're from. And you're telling me that's fair? There's no way it isn't. There's huge problems in our sport. And the Super League is not one of them. And it won't be. And for those traditionalists that can agree or disagree, it's your opinion and you're free to express it. But don't tell me that you're a traditionalist and you love the sport, because it has not been the same for a very long time. And I'm not buying it.
Just to piggyback off of what you were saying before, sorry, but you were talking about, yes, football is a recession-proof form of entertainment. And if a lot of people are going to hold it back, right, there's no reason for us to be complacent, because I look at, and not that I was alive for most of it, I was born in 96, but I know that Serie A in the 90s was probably like the most fantastic product football wise. Everybody wanted to go and watch Serie A. You had the Seven Sisters that at any moment could grab the Scudetto. And then look, maybe 10, 20 years later, all the clubs got complacent. They didn't do anything to move forward. You look at Serie A in the condition it's in today, like you said, stadiums falling apart, where are the corporate sponsorships coming from? And even when it comes to how do you make this league marketable? Well, they were marketable. They were at the top. They got complacent and they kind of held themselves back. They shot themselves in the foot. And this is what I, was really upset with the backlash, is that why are you like, what, not you, but why are so many people resistant to change? Because if, let's say, the Super League or the amendments to the Champions League competition didn't come, this sport would have probably not died, but I think a lot of people would have become disinterested. I think it would have slowly over time gone down, and nobody would be interested in it anymore. And I did see the clip of President Agnelli addressing that people want to see games that matter. There's no point in broadcasting a game that nobody cares about. The fans, and like you said, consumers want to see a game that matters, that it makes sense. Like you said, must watch television. Of course, we all want to see Ronaldo go to Old Trafford, return to the Bernabeu within the span of a month or two. It took us how many years for Ronaldo's transfer to Juventus to finally see Ronaldo play Messi again? It took basically up until the group stage. And we had to wait for the second game for that to happen because of COVID protocol and injuries and whatnot. It took us that long to get a Ronaldo Messi replay again, when during that time, when both of them were in Spain, El Clasico was probably the most watched fixture.
Completely. And I'm going to, from this standpoint, I look at it this. So I would say out of everyone, I'm probably the oldest. So I'm going to call it out there, okay, already. So I was there, 90s, going to my dad's restaurant where rye was the only thing on TV, grainy TV, going to see his at 11 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock, with a box of Baker's Dozen donuts, your cinnamon twist, sugar twist, your honey dip. You're going down, you're watching these games, and you're watching Milan. The Milan era in the 90s was unbelievable. And the reason why teams like that existed, and I'm going to go out and say it, is a guy like Berlusconi, who was ahead of his time and was a businessman who knew, and there's a reason why they won 7 Champions League. There's a reason why they have a pedigree that they were, and it's great. There was someone who made a quote on one of my Facebook groups who's saying that in 1986 it was Berlusconi himself who recommended and said, at some point or another, we definitely need a super league of these giant teams in order to progress as a sport and as a business. They go hand in hand. And for those of, and I think honestly, and I don't mean to be like this against anyone who's not a business owner, and I live in that space. I was an employee, and I am a business owner, so I understand the obligations and responsibilities that come with both. And as a business owner, you're looking at cutting edge. You're looking at what's going to distinguish your business and make you better. What's going to want other people to appeal to your brand, and why are they going to make you up? This is still a family-run business where everything around Europe, anywhere else, the Agnelli family have run this team for how long? It's a pride thing, and they've grown the brand. They've taken the steps. And if you look, I'm going to call out, since Calciopoli, this has been a downward spiraling league. Yeah, Inter won the thing. Inter won it because you didn't have the Juves and the Milans that were able to compete at that level. Well, maybe more so Milan was able to, but you couldn't because they had the best players coming to them, because Juve and Milan and other teams weren't at the height. But guess what? I'm going to tell you something. You said something great about the types of games people want to see. You know why it's hard to play in this league and why people don't want to play is that you have maybe 4 fixtures a year where you know you're not going to have some no-namer try to crack your ankles or your knees. You imagine the top player, one of the 1A, 1B, Ronaldo in this league, he's got to play some guy from Benevento who wants to make his name by cracking him, giving him an elbow, tripping him, whatever. That's a type of soccer that people don't want to see. Yeah, I'm happy for the Benevento fans that saw us lose. Good for you. That's great. That'll never happen another 100 years. I said at the end of the day. But I'm going to tell you, it's not soccer. I don't know anybody in their right mind would go watch a La Liga game and say, you know what? I want to watch Real against Deportivo La Coruña. I haven't, you know what I mean? Whoever waited for that fixture? No one did. Did you wait for Atletico? 100%. Did you watch Sevilla, Villarreal? Yeah. But did you wait for Barcelona? You damn straight you did. Now, we don't have the fortune that the EPL has because there's a brand across 10 different teams in that league. But that's because they speak English. That's because they're the closest side to the US and Canada across that big pond in between. And they speak English. And they have a lot of money, and they speak English. And that the problem is we don't do that. And getting back to the language that James was saying, you speak the Spanish and Italian, Spanish and English being the 2 largest languages spoken outside of, let's just say French being the 3rd. You're going to have that attraction to the thing. What Agnelli's trying to do and has done with this team has been remarkable, and no one has cut up. Christian Vieri went on record as saying too, everyone can cry and whatever about what Agnelli did. He brought the biggest player. He put his cards on the table. He showed his cards. He put his money where his mouth is. Where is everybody else? Lukaku, Lautaro. Oh, get out. Seriously? We bring a washed-up Ribéry to Firenze, Florence. Where is the rest of this league? In going to Super League, he's like, look, man, you guys are not going to join me. If you're not going to be a partner, because that's how I look at the other 19 teams in Serie A. They're partners. We're building a brand. Back in the day, it was a partnership more so than it is now. Yeah, you had the 7 sisters, like you said. There's no partnership right now. That's why guys like Zhang had a great relationship, even though there's the biggest rivalry between Inter and Juve. Zhang and Agnelli were right spot on for this. Unfortunately for Zhang's situation with the Chinese government and how he can address his funds with Inter, he was obviously kiboshed and handcuffed. At the end of the day, Zhang would be as outspoken about this than as Agnelli. This league has to move forward. People don't come here to lose money and lose opportunity. A guy like Camiso has come in because he's Italian and he wants to be the owner of Florence, the most beautiful city in the world. Whoop-de-doo. Keep Ribéry, keep the beautiful game, beautiful city in the world or in Italy. Doesn't win you championships, doesn't bring you more people in the seats. That's what Juve does. And as myself, I'm going to tell you, I won't rant anymore, is the 3 times I was in Torino, I went to go watch game. 2 out of the 3 times I was there, the museum tour and the stadium tour set records for most attendance in a day. Who has attendances anywhere else in Italy? No one. No one goes to San Siro. Definitely no one goes to San Paolo. No offense to you Napoli fans, but I don't want to walk under piss, pardon the expression, while I'm walking out of the stadium. So that's where it is. You want to show up? How much money did De Laurentiis, how quickly was UEFA going to find De Laurentiis if he didn't bring San Paolo up to snuff for the Champions League? It was disgraceful, disappointing. Goes out and buys another team in body, but he won't put money into Napoli. It's crazy. These are the ownership people that we have in Italy right now. This is the problem that Juventus was faced with, along with Inter and Milan. This is part of the reason why the Super League came to fruition. And I agree with James. This is a ploy. This was throwing out, I want to see you. I'm going to call you out, but I'm going to call you out in a way that people are going to listen. And we're talking right now. We've made a special segment on this. People are talking, and it's going to open the eyes of the fans. It's like, why? First, you have reaction. Oh, I'm a fan. Second one is, why did this happen? After you calm down, people are going to ask, we're doing this right now. Why is this happening? Why was this taking place? That's the next question that needs to be answered, but not by Agnelli, not by Florentino Flores, not by any of the other 10 people, 10 organizations and their leaders and their owners, why they joined the Super League. It's going to come from UEFA and definitely going to come from FIFA. That's definitely the next thing that's going to happen. And because of the European Cup, this is something that's going to have to be addressed right afterwards. This is not going to go to bed soon. This will have implications going into next year, next season, right across Europe.
Yeah. And the one thing as well is we're hearing that the teams that did pull out may have some financial implications that may be against them, because they all signed an agreement. And that agreement was they were going to be part of this pact for, I forget the
20
year,
years.
but they were all going to be in. And, you know, when you have I guess it was English kryptonite and they all pulled out there, now they're going to have something to do. And then even Juve's statement that came out, the way it was worded was specifically to say, we're not pulling out of it. We still agree with the concept. So they may have essentially, Agnelli might have another play here and might be able to sue the rest of them and get the money that he needs.
We'll also find it interesting too that UEFA came out after and said that there was all this excess funding, 4 billion euros. Where did that come from? So, you know, I think at the same time too, they wanted to position this and kind of, pit different people and different organizations against each other. But at the end of the day, it came down to, who had the bigger, the bigger cajones to say, okay, who can kind of push this the furthest to get what they want. And you know what, they forced UEFA and they forced their hand, and, UEFA, showed their hands, and yeah, they have an extra $4 billion that they have access to. So again, why isn't that being shared with, these clubs, these biggest brands? Because I'll tell you right now, if you take out all those teams that were, originally joined the Super League, if you took those teams out and the Champions League was the Champions League, who would watch? Would everybody want to see Bayern and PSG play each other in the final every year? Or, an Atalanta versus Villarreal or whatever it would be? The reality is these 12 teams are the teams that people want to see. You take those out, you take those players out. If it's the same concept, I think Gary Vee made a point of this on his podcast, and he's a business guy, going back to what John was saying. If LeBron James and all the NBA superstars said, hey, we want to, we're not getting our fair share of salary in the NBA, we're going to go and start and create our own league, I'm sure majority of the people would say, yeah, I'm not going to watch the NBA. I want to see LeBron James play Kevin Durant and, Kyrie Irving week in, week out, or, every other week or every month. Because like you said, people want to see the big ticket. People want to see the best on best.
Something that matters. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. That's why they took steps in this direction. And going back to your point, Serie A is so backwards in so many things that they do that you can't fault Juventus for saying, no offense, you guys are so backwards with your stadiums and the way you guys just approach the global game that you only care about what's going on in Italy. You don't care about what's going on in the world and outside of the world, the global game. So no offense, we're the biggest team in Italy. Milan and Inter, they're big teams in Italy. We want to, move apart from that and grow our brand globally, because that's where the future is. And, I just think that, people, again, these traditionalists, they say, but this is the beautiful game. It's been this way for so long, but like everything evolves. So you have to kind of move with the times or get, left in the dust.
Yeah, that's what Joe said. Joe said it's the evolution. This is what it is.
And I think with sorry, James, I'll get to you 1 sec. I just want to follow up on Marco's point. With Serie A, when we got Ronaldo, I was a little bit optimistic in the sense that I thought, okay, maybe, we're not going to go back to the 90s, but, maybe we're going to inch closer to the La Liga and surpass the Bundesliga once and for all. But last year or so, it's just, there's too many problems in Serie A, and it's not just on off the pitch, like with stadiums and with other stuff. It is, but I think even on the pitch, like the way the clubs got eliminated in Europe, I think there's a fundamental culture problem with the way Italian teams coach, with the way they prepare their players, sports science and nutrition, while other leagues are really focusing on that, and analytics, heat maps, heat signatures, all these metrics that are available. In Italy, they can't even read. I mean, when
Hey,
it
don't
comes
worry
to,
about it. It's okay. What do you mean a heap map?
Yeah.
It's okay.
yeah, they
heap map.
like
Yeah.
expected goals. They can't even, honestly, like they don't get it, and they never will. And that's just the mentality. And it's forced, Juve and Inter and Milan quietly sneaking behind. They're just as fault here because they're gonna put Juventus as the villain as always, because we are the biggest villains of all time. Like, we're responsible for earthquakes in Aquila. We're responsible for COVID deaths. We're responsible for everything in Italy. It's all Juve's fault. It's all Agnelli. It's all them. It's all that family who's the reason for the destruction of this country, which is all BS. We're gonna get blamed for it. But let's not forget Inter trying to ride our coattails like they always do. Milan, who haven't been relevant in 10 years. Can we please be a part of this? They're begging for it, basically, because they've got no other solution. And the other teams, it's ironic because the other teams in the Serie A, all except for Parma, who ironically, which we faced today, and we will get to that game in just a few minutes, but they're the only ones that said, no, we want them kicked out. We want those three out. The rest of the teams, even those idiots, De Laurentiis, Urbano Cairo, and Lotito, they didn't say anything. You know why? Because Serie A will lose its value of 1 to 2 billion euros if those three teams are gone. And that's a fact. And they know that. So I think Serie A was on board with having them. Yeah, sure. You play us on the weekends and you guys can have your league. We don't give a damn because we're going to get more viewers because of that. So it's a trickle-down effect. It actually benefits Serie A. But then the problem with the Super League is, it's great that we're playing in the first couple of years. Yeah, it's great we're playing on Wednesdays, but you know what would be great? You know how we could get more money and more viewers? What if we played on Saturday and Sunday? We'll get way more viewers then, because then we don't have to have North America still in our meetings at the office or on the construction site, and I can't watch the game. But on the weekend, yeah, we got the day off. We can watch it. And then that's when the leagues are going to say, no, you cannot take our Sunday weekend and Sunday and Saturday time slots, because then that's when they will disappear. And then the other problem is, and this is my final point, and James, I'll get to you. How do you choose who are the 20 teams? Because you've got the 12 founders, but then the other 8, is it going to be Benfica and Porto, 2-time European champions each, large fan bases, modern stadiums? Is it going to be Nottingham Forest in the second division that won 2 European Cups? Is it going to be Fiorentina, who made the European Cup final in 1957? Is it going to be, who's it going to be? Who do you choose? Who's going to get relegated? Who's going to get promoted? If Roma gets promoted, does that mean they can't play in UEFA competitions now? It's a lot. There's too much to unpack, and it's very complicated. And that's why, in a way, it may not work just because of the way they're structuring it, but not the concept of having this league. That wasn't the problem. I think it was just, how do you separate meritocracy? Like, how do you solve that problem? And it's not an easy question. And the 12 teams don't have the answer either. And that's the problem, I think. But again, like we mentioned before, it's not over. And it's gonna creep up. This has been going on for years and years and years. Now it's in the public eye. And now we open Pandora's box, and it's not going to go away. James, go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the other interesting topics that did pop up on there was they were talking salary cap. And if you're going to do some sort of league like this where everybody's buying in, there is that revenue sharing, it is leveling the playing field, and a salary cap did make sense there. Now, what I think eventually, if we do see the Super League does happen, is I see a breakaway. I see these clubs actually breaking away from their leagues and making it, and it will be very North American style, where, hey, there's 20 teams that are in. There's no qualification or anything like this. 20 teams in. The owners come in, they all come in with equal share, and they actually build their league to themselves. Can it happen? It could happen. You get your midweek games, you get your weekend games. They can easily go out and secure a massive television deal if they want to. The only question would be, how do they deal with FIFA, banning the players if they wanted to go through that? So it's not dead. I still think something will happen. These guys, the guys behind this, they're not dummies. They're successful businessmen. They know how to do it. And I think what you're also seeing is the frustration from them that as successful businessmen, they know that that there's a bigger pot that needs to be had, and they want their fair share.
They're owners. That's fair and share. They're owners. Now all of a sudden, magically, PSG chairman El Khalifi there, whatever his name is now the president of ECA. Give me a break. Honestly, like, how stupid can UEFA be right now? How dumb, how completely transparent on guilt on there. And they go and put the only club that wasn't interested or wasn't invited, who has, I don't know how they've circumvented the FFP over the course of the last 8 years. 2 players totaling whatever they are. Oh, we're paying Neymar 220 million as the mascot or the person of interest for the Qatar games. Give me a break. Honest to goodness, give me a break. As a business person, as an owner that he is, that's his company. He can do what he wants, Agnelli. That's his company. At the end of it, it is his company. Let's put aside soccer pitch players, whatever. Those are his employees, and that's his office. Put it aside. That's it. Those are his ground. He's got a responsibility, not just to him, to Exor, Stellantis, wherever it is, and they're losing money and they're pumping money back in, where this club was self-sufficient for many years. Why? Because the seesaw has gone in a way where he can't fix it alone. And it's not about it. Look, man, there's only so many times a company or a person can say, you know what, I'll carry you guys along. I'll show you how to build your brand. And as much as I want to even go to this guy, because this guy makes my skin crawl when I talk about him, Marotta, when he went after Higuain, and De Laurentiis was willing to deal with Arsenal for 20 million euros or whatever it was less to get him out so that Juve wouldn't get him, Marotta went to him and he said, listen, why would you sell him for less, lose a marketable brand in Higuain and player? He stays in Italy. You get that money. You stay in second place. You fight for that second place of Champions League, potentially going deep in Champions League, and you keep Napoli at a level that it hasn't been in many years. Why would you get rid of a commodity? And they are. I hate to break it. I hate to tell people, players are a commodity. They're an asset. That's what makes businesses, the business of soccer, succeed. The minute the second Juventus came out and they took over Ronaldo, how quickly did their brand grow and the value of the club? Straight up, that's an asset. It's a commodity. Get with it. I hate to break it to these people who still go back. In May 26th, guys, I know I'm giving a pitch to Netflix. May 26th, the Il Divin Codino comes online on Netflix. Watch it, enjoy it, but watch it because of its history. That is history. It's gone. Move forward. Again, and I'm going to say it. People may are going to watch this podcast and think that I'm for the league. I'm not. It's not that I'm for the league. I'm like you, Joe. I want to see how it would pan out. I cannot make a judgment call on something until I see the product on the field, in place, and at that point, that's an educated position, not Gary Neville's, not all the other fans, because all they're thinking about is, oh, I don't get to watch a midweek game or a Saturday game. Why do I have to watch Juve? And why do I have to pay for extra fees? Well, you know what? You want the Ronaldos of the world on your team. You want to see a Messi playing alongside Ronaldo. You want to see the top flight goalie Annette and Donnarumma. Then you got to pay for it. And as that is, it's a business. And if you're not willing to pay for it, no problem. Go buy your knockoff jerseys. Go watch your TV. Watch it on whatever other television channel once a month or once a week, 1 or 2 games, and do it. That's not what it is right now. If you're not willing to hop on board, that's a problem for you. And right now, all the other sports are going there, and soccer in Europe is not getting outside of the Premiership, and we all know that.
Yeah, those are all terrific points, and I think it's a topic that's just we're very passionate about because we love the sport and we love the game, and it merits. We could talk about this all day, and it really and it's just scratching the surface, and it would be interesting to see how this develops because I think we can all agree there's more to come. Obviously, eventually, now we'll see what happens when the pandemic is over and fans come back and all that, and whether it's going to be approved or not. But I think, stay tuned. There's definitely a lot to see. I wanted to get to Juve, our regular league, because there is still a league going on, believe it or not, everybody. A big win today, 3-1 against Parma to get some momentum back on track with 6 games left. It's going to be probably the toughest season we've had in 10 years. Just trying to, and it's not fighting for a title, it's fighting to get into the Champions League. I'll start with our guests, Marco and Adam. What's your thoughts on the game, on Juve going forward? With these 6 matches left, it's a brutal stretch in May, where it's Milan, Atalanta in the Coppa Italia final, and then Inter. So wanted to get your thoughts on Juve, on your thoughts on today's game and going forward for the rest of the next 5 weeks that we have left.
Optimistic, I think. Like, that's the way we definitely have to keep it. I know, like you said, it's going to be one of the toughest seasons in 10 years because there's a, less likely opportunity for us to finish the season as a Scudetto winner, which is fine. 9 years in a row, obviously this one's going to hurt even more because it comes to a team like Inter. So I think our season definitely hasn't done the justice that a lot of fans wanted to see. We thought we were going to get a lot of different results based on the younger guys that we brought in, i.e. like McKinney, Chiesa, Kulusevski, and obviously still retaining some talents like Ronaldo, Dybala, and even Chiellini, who I think is probably going to retire at the end of the season, which I think is okay considering he's definitely been a great servant for the club. But I would like to see this season end with also a changing of the guard. If we could do that, maybe say thank you very much to the older guys that have been still kicking around the club, like our Chiellinis, maybe our Buffon. I know he kind of left one time and then decided to come back. So, I mean, you're never going to close the door on Gigi, but I think everyone kind of has a shelf life. So, I mean, again, thank you to all the, guys that were amazing servants to the club. But like I said, I just want to stay optimistic. I think you have to approach every game like it's a must win because the numbers aren't, finally set. We're not mathematically eliminated, and that's how you have to play. I think a lot of the identity of Fino alla fine has definitely been, I don't want to say lost, but I think it's been a little bit misplaced. So I think we got to really find that again over these next, 5 or 6 weeks.
And I'll just add to that. Yeah, just on today's game, again, having a guy like Dybala back in the lineup, getting about 80 minutes today or just over is so crucial. I think he's a big catalyst in the attack. Having him healthy for these remaining games is going to be crucial. Like you said, this is a guy who shows up in the big games. This is a guy, as much as Ronaldo does, show up in the big games as well. Dybala also does. Even the play that he made to, I think it was Chiesa, that back heel against Milan earlier this year. The guy shows up in the big games last year with Inter. So I mean, this is a guy that you need ready to go. And I think if he can stay consistent and he can make his mark on the games along with Ronaldo. Hey, with Milan losing today and dropping points, Atalanta's playing Roma tomorrow. We'll see what happens there. Hey, we could easily grab second place, and I think if we can get some momentum going with the players we have, and if our midfield can actually somewhat perform, because that's been, I think, our worst area this year, I think second place is easily attainable, and I think that'd be a nice moral victory for the group because they've struggled throughout this year with ties and losses that shouldn't have even happened. Again, we could be, if any of those results turn the other way, we could be fighting for the Scudetto right now. Hasn't been the best soccer we've been playing. I think Pirlo's still trying to figure that out. But hey, if we can finish second and get a Coppa Italia, I wouldn't write this season off completely.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, the great points. John, I'll let you go, and then we'll finish off. Actually, John, go ahead, and then James, we'll get your thoughts.
Yeah, so good win today. I thought the boys played outside of the free kick and everyone blaming Ronaldo again for ducking. It's insane. The players, they played well. Dybala, to go 80 minutes. I agree with you, Marco. That was surprising that he went that long, and he was efficient. He made a great cross attempt. I mean, it was a triple D today, so that's a great showing from Sandro and from De Ligt. It was De Ligt the third goal, correct?
Yeah.
So good showing there. GG undefeated at 43 between the pipes. God, I love you, Tech, but you're breaking my heart this year. So great win. Deserved loss to Parma, and the only reason why their owner was saying get rid of them is so that he wouldn't get relegated this year. Too bad, so sad, buddy. You're getting relegated. Great push forward for us. I'm cautiously optimistic for the next six games plus the Coppa Italia final. I think we'll be in good spirits moving forward. I think in times of difficulty, people come together and really band. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the elder statesmen of the team, the older brass, to kind of bring these guys together. But I agree. I think it's about time that we move forward from these guys. But Dybala should be key for the rest of the 6 games. He should have hunger in order to fight for his contract that he's looking to sign. So he's got to be key for us, and we really got to show some grinta, as they say it, for next year, and keep us fans dreaming for another 9 in a row and Inter not winning another one.
Yeah, good point. James?
Yeah, so today's game reminded me a lot of the Lazio game. We were down, but then they were able to show that Fino alla Fina spirit and come back. It was always good to get a goal right before the half, and then they came out on fire, which is something that we haven't done this season. We always seem to come out of the dressing room without our espresso. So it sounds like they doubled them up and they came out there on fire. Good to see Sandro. Sandro has been one of the players that I've really been disappointed in this season. I thought he took a step down, but it's good to see him getting some goals. Corrado has been key to this Piero setup pretty much, and just by having 3 healthy backs. So Daniela was there as well as Sandro. It allows Corrado to move further up the field, and that creates more opportunities, more crosses into the box. So it's good there. And then I think the other big factor was Dybala. And it's been a factor for us pretty much all season because he's been hurt on and off. Morata's been hurt on and off, and you also have Ronaldo with the COVID. So we really haven't had a rotation of 3 solid strikers. So now going into this critical stage, we have 3 strikers. So Dybala starts, Dybala runs till he's dead, Morata comes on, vice versa, and that's how we have to ride till the end of the season, and hopefully the 3 of them have some magic left in the boots and get us to that second place finish, which is it's attainable. Milan isn't there. They're dropping points. Atalanta will eventually drop points because that's just the way they play with that high tempo style. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, when you're working and you score goals, but it also opens up a lot of the counter. And then you saw the Inter today drop points. And Conte pretty much said it as well, is he's expecting that because none of these guys have been in a position to win before. So they're not used to having that champion's pressure on them. So do I think Juve have a chance to win the Scudetto? Yeah, it's still there. Mathematically, they let too many points drop, but it's still there, and that's something that the leadership needs to pump into the boys and say, Fino, keep going until the last whistle, and we might may be able to pull one off. So
yeah, and I think that's very important to realize that we've mentioned this before, but we've been spoiled the last decade with all these trophies. And it's gut check time, not just for the players on the pitch, but for the fans too. There's a lot of friends and who are members who are for some uncharacteristic reason just giving up when there's 6 games, 18 points to play. This is a wide open league. No one is particularly strong, including Inter Milan. We're a little bit too far ahead for Scudetto, but definitely the top 4 is achievable. But I think it's not just those games against, Inter and Milan, but it's also the small teams we cannot take for granted. And we've learned that the hard way this season. Every game has to be played like a Champions League final, even if it's against a lower team, even if it's a last place team. It doesn't matter because nothing is going to be given. And we know we've struggled against those types of teams. And it's every team has to be taken seriously. Hopefully the best case scenario, Cristiano Ronaldo wins Capocannoniere, becomes the first player to do it in the top 3 leagues, in more than 2 leagues, and we win the Coppa Italia as another trophy to add to which would be 2 trophies this year, which is actually pretty good. You ask any other team, like Inter Milan hasn't won a trophy in 11 years, right? So Roma hasn't won in 13. Every trophy is a win. It is, no matter what we think of it. We've taken all those trophies for granted, but I hope that the players and the management don't. And that's what really they just need. It's just 6 more games. Just keep going. Milan is spiraling with injuries and their poor play. Atalanta, they've reached their ceiling, and we haven't even come close to our ceiling. So, it's all out there. Napoli, they're weak. From top down, from their president downward, they're all weak. They're not going to, I don't think they really pose much of a threat. It's ours to lose. And I think we've got, despite the troubles, there's enough talent and experience there that we can at least make the top 4. So we've got to keep it with a more optimistic lens. I think we will do it. And if we don't, we don't. If we don't do it, we deserve not to. But if we make it, we deserve it as well. So I'm hoping that, again, fino alla fine. I know we went a little long. It's one of our longer podcasts, but before we wrap this up, John, I'd like for you to make some announcements for some of our upcoming events. Our fan club, again, we're the biggest and the best in the world for a reason, because we never stop. And we've got some exciting news coming over the next couple of months, despite COVID. John, I'll let you take it away again.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. First, I'd like to thank the Principe brothers for being on. Thanks, guys. You guys are always rock solid for us. Juve per sempre. So yeah, we have great stuff. We have a raffle coming up. We're going to be raffling off a custom foosball table branded Juventus official fan club of Toronto. It's being done by Creative Solutions, our sponsors for all of our marketing stuff. And thank you, Creative, Lucho and Heather, for handling that for us and donating the images for that. So we'll be raffling that off. We also have gotten some nice little treats from Torino. We have one of the clay and red jerseys from last year that we're going to be raffling off with that as well. And another portrait of our team that was done earlier on. And with that, once we go there, we're actually going to be having a footy golf tournament. Yes, boys and girls, an outdoor event. Hopefully, with this, it'll happen June 27th at Kettle Creek. And it'll be all day. It's going to be obviously with COVID precautions in place. We'll announce this on our social media, on our website. You'll be able to sign up directly with our e-commerce. No more at the old Italian way where you write down and you collected, $100.
Write it down. Write it down.
There's no booster here, boys and girls. It's plastic. Getting with the times, right? So we'll have it on get it through PayPal, through e-transfer, or through credit card purchase online. We're gonna have it's gonna be 5 players aside. It's footy golf. You're gonna get this is incredible. I think the Principe brothers are gonna join right after this. After I say this, it's gonna be for $100. You are going to get the round of golf, a Juventus official soccer ball, licensed ball with a pull string bag and a water bottle branded with our club's logo. Along with that, lunch will be included and next year's membership. With that, also, you're going to get 3 events throughout the year from the Adidas store in Toronto, the head office, where you get to go enjoy some solid discounts on Adidas apparel and hopefully Juventus apparel, as we did last year in November. So just think about it. For $100, next year's membership, footy, golf, all those swag prizes, plus snacks and giveaways throughout the day. We're going to have some great social media presence and influencers there that day. We're with hopes of having Stella Acquisto of City TV News, who's one of our ambassadors, DJ Danny D of Z103.5. So it's going to be a really interesting time. Again, we're going to be doing everything to keep you guys safe. That's our obligation, responsibility, and our care for everyone. So that June 27th, then on July the 25th, our picnic, that's going to come up. And in between there, guys, if everything goes well, we will be raffling off a Vespa, a double black Juventus inspired Vespa. The seat will have a custom seat with a double black stitch with the Juve logo on it and the tricolore on the front of the bike. This thing is absolutely sick. This is where you can rock to the local convenience store with a little helmet on, get your Spro to go and go back home. So it's going to be a fun time. And then later on in the year, we don't want to talk about the fall months. We'll get there later. I just want to enjoy the next few months. Hopefully we will be able to see each other after this last lockdown. But these are the things that we are doing. We're hoping to have our new location and further news about the progression of the club and our responsibility, obligation to the community at large. So we're excited and we're happy to bring more and more opportunity to you guys as a fan base and to grow. And please spread the word. Come join the best club in the world, top class, as Mehdi Demiral said. So, and wrote down. So I have a proof here. If you want to come see it, right now it's in my basement. Next time it will be in our own head office clubhouse.
Great. Thanks so much, John. So yeah, stay tuned to our social media at Juve Club Toronto on Instagram, at Juve Club TO on on Twitter. We also have this podcast as well. 6 Yard Box has its own social medias at 6 Yard Box Pod on Twitter, the 6 Yard Box on Instagram, and as well the 6 Yard Box on Facebook as well. So we're everywhere on all these channels. Give us a follow. We will be back very soon. Membership will open very, very soon. But the soccer golf, again, we haven't been able to do anything in over a year, but we're bringing that to you, to our fans and our members. For myself, Joe, John, and James, and our special guests, again, thank you to the Principe brothers, Adam and Marco. We want to wish you guys a great week. Stay safe, everybody. And again, as we always say, fino alla fine, forza Juve.